All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to Office 365 Tips and Tricks brought to you by the Marks Group. This month we're going to be talking about mail tips for Outlook, quickly selecting rows in Excel. That doesn't necessarily have to be in a table, but it could be. And then finally, creating Outlook tasks from OneNote. So some quick but helpful tips today. So first of all, we're going to talk about the mail tips for Outlook. I actually don't have our email system isn't really configured for this, unfortunately, so I can't show the mail tip itself. However, I can show you how to enable it, and I also wanted to explain what mail tips are. If you've ever seen this this kind of, sometimes it's in a yellow bar, but above your new message or above a draft in in Microsoft Outlook, this little pop-up appears sometimes if you have if you're sending something to a distribution list and it has a bunch of recipients, or if you say in the body of your message, please find attached, but you didn't actually attach something, or if you reply all to a message with many recipients, it will inform you of that with this little pop-up here. Other good times it pops up, I know it's helpful when the recipient has vacation responder on, and they're within your, I think if they're also using Exchange, I think that's the criteria. But yeah, a requirement for this, unfortunately, is that you have to be using Exchange. That's actually why I can't show you specifically some examples of mail tips natively from my Outlook. But yeah, so let's just dive into turning it on and off and enabling it. So when you open up Outlook, you can actually just go to File here, and we'll go to Options. That is where everything seems to live. And then we can go to Mail. And then if you scroll down a bit, I know there's a lot going on in this menu here, but you'll see this Mail Tips, and it's got this icon with the letter and the red circle here. But then you would just select Mail Tips Options, and it gives you a bunch of different times where Mail Tips is displayed. So you might want to go through these. And then you can specify when you want mail tips to display. If you have it set to display at all times, if there are no mail tips, there would just be a little blurb of text that say, there are no mail tips right now. And that's it. So normally, I think by default, it's display automatically when mail tips apply. And then it is possible also to have multiple mail tips applied to a single message, and you can go through each of them. So I really like mail tips. If you can use it, I would recommend it. I think it's helpful for catching those embarrassing mistakes like replying all and not forgetting or not actually attaching a document to an email, stuff like that. So definitely suggest checking that out. All right, so that is mail tips. I wanted to jump over to Excel real quick and talk about selecting rows in a worksheet in Excel. So I just wanted to talk about keyboard shortcuts, and I will type them out right here because I realize that I can't really show that on a webinar. So it's Control plus Shift plus arrow. So if you just select this first cell right here, on your keyboard, if you type Control and then Shift and then the down arrow, it skips to the bottom of that chunk of rows with data. So it's really easy to select a large number of rows. This is really helpful if you have a table with a header and there's like hundreds of records and you don't want to just select one and scroll like this all the way to the bottom. That gets super annoying. So to just make it easy, in your big row, you can just select the first row of data you want to copy, and then Control, Shift, and the down arrow. You can select after this point, and I'm still holding the Shift and Control keys down right now. You can click the right arrow, and it will select the other columns in that that have data within this context of these rows. I believe if I do Control Shift down, and then when I click down again, it also jumps to the next chunk of data. I think this also works for empty rows. Oh no, it does jump to the next one with data. So if you select this row 13 then, and we do the same thing, Control Shift and down, it does select all of these rows and these rows alone. So this is just a really helpful way to navigate around Excel, and if you're copying data, copying columns and rows and stuff over from one worksheet to another, this is extremely helpful. So definitely check that out. I suggest looking up some other Excel keyboard shortcuts if you're working in Excel frequently as well. There are some really good hidden ones for like adding new rows and stuff that that I think are definitely worth a read. So I would suggest checking those out as well. Okay, our third item for our webinar today is talking about creating Outlook tasks from OneNote. So I'm just going to go over to this quick note I have here. And I did it, as you can see, I've got something there already. I'm going to just delete everything. So we'll do another test, and I'm going to have this here, and I'm going to pull up Outlook as well. I think we can just click that and go to tasks. I did delete that. That should catch up at some point. So we're going to do another test here. So we'll do test 2. So to create a task from any text in OneNote, you just highlight it, and then you'll go over to this flag button here. You can click it, and then you select the due date. It can be something custom, in which case it opens up the task record page from Outlook itself. But you can test 3, highlight it again. We said this is due tomorrow. As you can see, it immediately pops up over here with the appropriate due date. And this test 2 was a custom date, which I exited out of, and it didn't give it a due date, so that's why it says none here. So if you wanted to check off one of these, you just have to click the flag here, and it actually immediately updates in Outlook as well. So if I unclick it, it will uncheck it there as well. So it's just very helpful. And I believe this is just kind of a nice feature. The sooner the due date is, the darker the flag is. Let me see if that's true. I'm going to do this one for today. Yep, so the sooner your due date, the darker the flag will appear. So it's just helpful when you're looking through your notes in OneNote to kind of differentiate the two. If you select if you hover your mouse point over one of these flags, it will tell you the start and due date, as you can see here. And then you can go into Outlook and edit this as necessary. But it does provide a link back to the note. And if you select, I think it does take a second, but if you mark the you mark the task as complete from Outlook, eventually it does update over here. It does take a little bit longer though. So that's why you're not seeing it update there. But it's easy to manage all of this from OneNote. And I don't know about you guys, but if you use Office 365 heavily, I love OneNote. I suggest it for everyone. So that wraps it up for this month for tips and tricks. Once again, we checked out meal tips for Outlook, selecting rows in Excel quickly with keyboard shortcuts. and creating Outlook tasks from OneNote. So if you have any questions about any of these tips, please let me know by emailing me at megan@marksgroup.net, or you can drop us a line at marksgroup.net. We have a little box for questions and they come straight to me. So I try to respond as quickly as I can. So please let me know if you have any questions at all. I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks.